So today I had a plan. My plan was chill out. Today's my first day back at work for a couple of days between Christmas and New Year. I've got a lot of time to spend with the family, and I thought I'll just chill, I'll play some games, I'll have a nice long bath, nothing major is going to happen. Then I'll start getting a couple of messages. Something's up, something's going on, nothing conclusive yet. And now here we are, literally between Christmas and New Year, the WWE have fired Toni Storm. Make no mistake, when they say released, it's fired. They have literally fired. I've already seen people say, oh, maybe Toni Storm asked for her release. By the sounds of it, not the case. Certainly nothing that I've heard as regards this one. It sure as hell sounds like they just fired her and kicked her out of the company. This, by the way, is the main reason that the match that was planned for day one between Toni Storm and Charlotte Flair did not happen. It was brought forwards because they wanted to basically sweep it under the carpet. They were saving this in particular because they were planning to hold on to that match just in case they needed it for day one, given that so many other matches are in potential jeopardy right now. It's a very, very difficult time to be a WWE fan with these particular sort of things happening. Toni Storm has been fired by the WWE. The main reason being that they simply no longer believe that she can be an effective face given how she has performed in her storyline with Charlotte Flair. This may be the case that, and there are so many people saying this, that yes, she requested her release, but certainly more than anything else, be aware of the following. She was fired because they blamed her for the storyline with Charlotte Flair not going as they expected it to go. What I mean by this is that when they give you the pies, when they give you the matches, Toni Storm botched on a number of occasions. There were botches in the wrestling, there were botches in the actual delivery, but a lot of people really had her back and really had her corner and said to the WWE, look, it's confidence, it's nerves. We can make this work. Chief amongst them, Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair. There were more people actually with Toni Storm's back here. Charlotte wanted to work with Toni Storm. The WWE, apparently, not wanting this to continue. Now, I've run down a few things there, so I'm going to quickly, before I get to any questions, and I will try and answer every question, I will quickly run down my usual thing. If you are new here, please do remember to click subscribe to this YouTube channel. We do cover breaking news that you can't get anywhere else. If you're a regular or you're new here, please remember to click that like, that little thumbs up. Guarantees us an increased viewership, which is potentially more success going forwards. And we'll continue trying to puzzle out exactly what happened here. It's ask me anything, ask me whatever questions you would like. I will try and answer it as best I can while I reiterate everything that we're picking up about Toni Storm, because there's quite a bit coming in. Right. Ooh, okay. Ed says, WWE fucks everything up. Yeah, I had a good plan. I had a good plan for a good day, and here we are. Welcome, Ed. How you doing, man? The user says, hi, mate. Hi, mate. How you doing? Michael says, I don't even know why I even bother watching WWE anymore. Mostly Sasha Banks, I do believe. Though Sasha Banks is someone who literally stood in the corner of Toni Storm, even as recently as... Thank you, Dexter, for the subscribe. Even as recently as a couple of weeks ago, going to the WWE and saying, yeah, let me work with her. Let me work with her. We'll make things happen. The WWE laid things out in matches with the idea being that it would take pressure off of Toni Storm. However, they did not believe that she was worth keeping, basically. Omega says, Tom Colohue, what the fuck? Which I think is very much fair. Austin, welcome. Says, no wonder why she was so upset after SmackDown. Maybe she already knew. I believe it's very similar to Austin Aries when he lost his job just after wrestling against Pac for the third time and the third loss. Essentially, this was her on the way out. This was her goodbye. It always was. It's only just been officially announced, but there we go, caught up. Thank you very much for the subscription, Dexter Stuckey. This is very much the WWE catching up to something that they had already considered and already intended to do. Toni Storm was chosen for the feud by Charlotte Flair. This isn't a case of Charlotte trying to get anyone fired, just to be clear on that aspect. Charlotte and indeed Becky Lynch were being somewhat competitive with each other to try and put over the person they were working with more than the other person. Unfortunately, Toni Storm got a terrible storyline. Absolutely terrible. She was not able to say anything about her as a person. She was not able to describe any of her personality. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm actually going to have to look this up. I just want to clarify this before I actually say it. Toni Storm, as of 20 hours ago, was having clips put up by WWE on Fox from her interview with Ryan Satin on Out of Character. 20 hours ago. That's not long, is it? Not long at all. Not long at all. Oy. Right, let's see what we got. Michael says, I guess I only watched one show. That is fair. Ghost says, I was only off Twitter for an hour. Funny how news works. I remember when Bray Wyatt was fired and everything just went boom for seemingly no reason until it happened. Michael said they can't write a storyline to save their lives and then they blame the talent. That was definitely a big part of this. Definitely a big part of this. Toni Storm received a hell of a lot of blame for something that she had absolutely no control over. The writing is not her department. It just isn't. And yet when you get a storyline like this, what are you supposed to do with it? What are you actually supposed to do? FNAF says, why did Toni Storm ask to be released? At no point have I said that she did. Also, will probably not be on here for long, I have COVID. Sorry to hear that, first and foremost, FNAF. Hope you feel better very soon. When it comes to the idea of Toni asking for her release, I haven't heard anything like that. I've only seen a lot of rumour about it. I've in fact just seen that somebody replied to my announcement tweet saying, make sure you let people know she asked for her release. As the description on your previous tweet imply. Literally, the description says, that's supposed to say Toni Storm has been fired by the WWE. It actually says the WWE has been fired by WWE. So I'm just going to correct this and put Toni Storm has been fired by the WWE because that's what it's supposed to be. I was in a rush and I do apologise. If anyone would like to share my quote tweet, the big support for the channel, you can do that here on YouTube and on Twitch. Right here, and please remember to hit like on the video if you want more news like this, and subscribe as well. We cover a lot of news here that you can't find anywhere else. It says, meet to Tom earlier today. So the next time I'll see you on stream, Tom to me, yeah, probably day one, maybe later, and then this happens. Yeah, I was not planning to be on. I was planning to just play a few games, settle down for the night. It's 9 PM here and relax, but that's not going to happen now. The user said, who do you think will win in the WWE title match at day one? Tomorrow, 6 PM, that's 1 PM Eastern time. I will be doing a day one preview show. I wasn't planning to announce it, but we're here now, so here we are. Bossman says, well, she was having a hard time crying. I honestly haven't watched SmackDown this week. I was planning to watch it over the next few days in the build-up to day one, but once again, unfortunately, here we are. Buzzy, welcome, says, this is such an out-of-nowhere move. News like this always takes me by surprise, especially when it's on a random afternoon. To reiterate what I've said a little bit earlier, I know that quite a few people have dropped in since then, so I'll happily reiterate a few times what I've said. When it comes to this, the idea was to have Charlotte Flair versus Toni Storm on day one. They have fast-forwarded the feud. They were sort of keeping it in reserve with the hope that, oh, if we lose people from the pay-per-view, we might have to get her involved. But no. No, not a thing. Toni Storm has been fired by the WWE. I've not seen anything to support the idea that she asked for her release. I've not seen anything like that. So the fact that it's going round and round on social media, that's not something that I would personally support because I see no reason to believe it. Sorry guys, just trying to keep up as much as possible here. Okay, so still reading. Michael says, is it just me? Or are they so quick to pull the trigger on firing people these days? I feel like they used to just stick everyone in catering. Yeah, this is the input of Nick Khan, who has essentially decided we will not be paying anyone that we're not using. essentially with particularly Shotzi, Aaliyah, people that they've had plans for but haven't really used much, they have decided that if they're not using someone, they're getting them straight out the door. Now, when it comes to the cost-benefit analysis, Toni Storm was not costing the WWE very much. She wasn't. She just plain wasn't. And knowing that she was not costing them very much, this looks even worse. Even worse when you consider that she was not a drain to their company basically in any way. They just made this arbitrary decision based on the fact that the storyline didn't go the way they wanted it. For me, this is the writing that's the problem. Chucky Dolls Welcome says, are you fucking serious? Unfortunately, yes. Yes, I am. I'm really not happy about this one. Now, on Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, if you're a PW Torch VIP, you may be aware of that. That's the show I have with Nick Barbati, who will be featured tomorrow on these channels, by the way. When it comes to that, we've covered quite a lot of the struggles of Toni Storm. We've got to be honest, she has not covered herself in glory with this storyline with Charlotte Flair. However, as I have mentioned, a number of women in that locker room were very vocally supportive of Toni Storm, saying that she would improve, saying that it was just nerves, saying that she can deliver if given the opportunity. However, I don't think this is enough of an opportunity. I'm going to be entirely blunt. I don't think there has been anything close to enough of an opportunity for Toni Storm to say, this is who I am, this is what I can do. Instead, what's actually been happening is she's been very firmly and very thoroughly kicked to the damn curb before she's even got her feet under her. Now, once again, we have to be honest, there were flubs, there were botches. There were. We can't sit here and sugarcoat this. We can't rose-colour glasses our way out of this. She did make mistakes. So has everyone who has come through that system. She has not had much time in any sort of developmental. Yes, she was on NXT for a little while, and she only just appeared with Ryan Satin for Out of Character, his interview series that he does for Fox. It's rare that you will see someone in that position if there aren't any plans for them. I was drinking wine before this, but I've gone to soft drinks because I'm on stream now. Had a glass of wine to chill out, what can I say? If you're watching the Tom Colohue channels for the first time, please be aware that I'd be very appreciative if you would click subscribe and click that little thumbs up button as well. It's a big help in growing this channel. We are trying to get to 800 subscribers before the end of the year. We're very close, but not quite there yet, so please remember to hit subscribe. There will be more news coming out over the next few days, and we do twice weekly spoiler warning shows where we cover news that you can't find anywhere else. We are the only place that you could find the news about Becky Lynch returning at SummerSlam before it happened, Sonya Deville's return while they were building up to that, and plenty more over the course of the last year. Oh, including the fact that I announced that there would be a Bianca Belair Sasha Banks rematch at SummerSlam, even though it didn't quite happen, it was the plan, in May. So 3 months beforehand. It's worth that subscribe. Buzzy says, I hate it when WWE chooses to blame everyone but themselves when something goes wrong. Pretty much, yeah, because that's how it feels. That's very much how it feels. I don't know. Greyman Media says, SRS reported it after his live stream. Yeah, he's been talking about this. Fightful got the report out first, certainly. I'm following up at this point, sending messages, asking questions, and sharing any information I can get. The first piece of information that I was able to share was on... It was 25 minutes ago, stating that Toni Storm has very much received all of the blame from the WWE for her storyline with Charlotte Flair failing to catch fire. And that seems to be the basis for a lot of what has happened over the last few days. It's been a very difficult position for her. Very difficult position. Oh. Megan says SmackDown is now down to just 8 active women on their roster. Not great with the Rumble a month away. It's very, very clear that WWE really haven't considered the Royal Rumble very much this year. I'm sure they have a planned winner. If you're regular on this channel, you'll know exactly who I believe their planned winner to be. But at the moment, they are very much walking themselves into an absolute dumpster fire. There are problems ahead. Like, there is genuine problems to come. And they need to be careful when it comes to things like this. Because Toni Storm, hopefully, is the only one being released right now. But the WWE have this annoying habit of when they fire one person, Nick Khan sort of licks his lips and looks around like, oh, who else can I get rid of? It's a little bit terrifying. You know? It's just a little bit terrifying. Chucky says, this is not true, I love Toni Storm. This is true, she's gone. She's very much gone. Brad... B-School Nick, welcome mate, how you doing? Says Tom, we're on for Monday for Raw. We are not. I will not be hosting a watch party for Raw this week. It's I'm thinking about day one. I wasn't planning to make that public, as it were. It really depends what's going on. I'm covering a lot of things family-wise at the moment, and that's all I can really say that right now. Nothing negative, nothing bad, but just it's been Christmas, it's been New Year's. There's a lot of juggling going on right now, so I don't know if I'll have the time, but I will see if I'm able to. As I say, I will be doing an impromptu show tomorrow, or it was impromptu. This has ended up in, pardon me, impromptu as well. Chucky says, WWE's lame as fuck. That is a fair thing to say. I understand your opinion there. Invasiloco says, what's up, how's it going? It's going pretty well, Invasiloco, thank you. Is it news for Tony official or only a rumour? At the moment, it is not official because it only becomes official when the WWE announces it. I cannot stress that enough. That is a large part of media literacy, being aware that the phrase official means when the person who 100% knows announces it. So there are two objects in the sentence. The WWE have fired Toni Storm. The WWE and Toni Storm. So it thus becomes official when either the WWE or Toni Storm says it's official. Until then, it is just rumour, but the people reporting it, including myself, have an extremely good track record, let's be honest. Hey Toxic Predator, how are you? Ghost says, hopefully this is the last release for a while, especially in the women's division. If they actually release any more women, what the hell are they actually going to do for the Royal Rumble? They can't afford to keep releasing people, and yet they keep doing so. I don't understand how they think this is going to work out for them in the long run. It's not possible that it will. FNAF says, do you think Edge versus KO is the next feud because they fought in a steel cage at an MSG house show? Very possibly we're going to end up with something, for example, Edge versus KO for Mania, as it were, but there is a lot still to go for Edge versus The Miz. As far as I can tell, they were just giving KO something to do after they decided not to have Big E or Seth Rollins involved. COVID, as we spoke about here 2 weeks ago, has been getting through the WWE. I won't name any names. I don't know all the names, to be blunt. But when it comes to that, we did mention here during a Raw watch party, I want to say just over 2 weeks ago. It was just over 2 weeks ago. We were talking about COVID being back in the WWE. Michael says they didn't do a whole lot with her in NXT. They didn't. They really struggled to come up with storylines for Toni Storm. They were trying to define the character of Toni Storm. However, they were unable to do so. The main basis being that they couldn't come up with anything. How many times have we heard this over the last few days? When we were talking about the draft, for example, a lot of people, I said there were no plans for these individuals. And that has very much come to fruition. Toni Storm was one of the people mentioned. There were no plans during the draft for Toni Storm. There were no plans for Tegan Nox during the draft or Shotzi during the draft. After the draft, they came up with a few ideas. This was one of the ideas for Toni Storm after Charlotte Flair wanted to work with her. I want to be really clear there because I know a lot of people are going to blame Charlotte. Charlotte Flair wanted to work with Toni Storm. The storyline did not catch fire, and it seemed like the WWE are blaming Toni Storm on this one. Wolfgamer says this is insane. I kind of agree with you. I really do. The cuts are getting so deep at this point that they've got no room left to manoeuvre. Lance, welcome, says roster size is starting to get a bit worrying. At what point do they say we can't afford to cut more people? People in the WWE locker room and in the management team said that a while back. They said it during the draft. It was mentioned by a number of people who are involved in draft planning. We haven't got many to pick from here. Can we stop releasing people? And then they released more people. Nick Khan has a lot of sway in the WWE, equal to Vince McMahon. And Vince has very much washed his hands at the whole situation and said, Nick, you go for it. You know what you're doing. You know wrestling. You know finance. You go for it. And that's very much what he's done. Megan says the Toni Storm episode of Out of Character was only released 2 days ago. As recently as, I believe, 20 hours ago, so less than 24 hours ago, Toni Storm clips from that interview were on WWE on Fox's Twitter account. They are still promoting it. They've had to rapidly delete quite a few tweets that they had planned. In fact, let me just... They have had to rapidly delete quite a few tweets that they had planned. Wolfgamer, thank you. I will read that out. Says, subscribe to Tom for news with context and really enjoyable watch-alongs. Thank you very much for that. The BFG podcast says, do you help Sean Ross when required? I don't have a working relationship with Sean Ross Sapp. As far as I can tell, he is not a big fan of me. But there are many times news on Fightful Select has come out after I've reported it here. So, for example, just from this year, the Edge break after WrestleMania, I reported that, and then it came out on Fightful Select afterwards, behind the paywall. The news of Sonya Deville returning to wrestling, that was something I reported on Twitter, and then a month later it came out on Fightful Select after that. So there are clearly some ways that I could, but we do not do that. Wolfgamer says, when WWE fires one person, it's never just one person, unfortunately. Not quite true. Bray Wyatt, for example. They do occasionally just fire one person if they feel that it is the right time. For example, I do believe it's very possible that Toni Storm was actually fired a few days ago, but it's only just come out. Now that it's come out, I can then pursue and ask questions and go from there, depending on when it comes out. Ultimately, guys, remember, I do have a full-time job. I do the best I can. We've got quite a few new names coming in. Hello, MRJ Datway, Walter Johnson, JK James. Welcome, everyone. Great to see some new names. Please do remember that you can subscribe to the channel here for news that you will not find anywhere else. And of course, if you can hit that like button, that little thumbs up makes a massive difference. We always seem to have slightly more viewers than likes. This is an Ask Me Anything stream. I will be reading out all of your comments. I apologise that I'm a little behind, but I will get to them as soon as I can. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments. I will be answering. Thank you, BFG. I appreciate that. Okay. Christoph, welcome, says, just seeing this, hasn't ended yet with all the WWE firings. This was not one that they had a plan for. They did not plan this firing. It's been building over the last few weeks, so they had basically laid out a plan for Toni Storm. It took her all the way to day one, and then if she did well, they will come up with new storylines for her. The WWE do not believe that she did well, so there is no new storyline coming for her, and it is over for Toni Storm. Mr. JDE, welcome, says, isn't making sense to me, I'm confused. Yeah, I think it's confusing to all of us, mate. This absolutely just... This came out of nowhere a little bit, but once you actually stop and break it down and talk to people backstage, yeah. Brad says, was Aaliyah released too? That has not been announced. I have not seen that anywhere. MRJ says, are there any more releases? The WWE's plan right now is essentially to release as and when. Nick Khan's system that he likes to use is that if they are not using someone, there is no point having them around. That's the view of Nick Khan. So if they don't have any plan for anyone, they are very much at risk of going. Yes, Austin, I'm back. Great to see you, mate. I'm back at least for tonight and then for tomorrow, but we'll see after that. I'm sort of making up as I go along here. I'm in a very busy period, as I'm sure many of you understand. Megan says, SmackDown has 8 women, Raw has 10, not including Alexa and Maurice. NXT has 19, not including Candice and Zoe, and NXT UK has 12. Then there's obviously Asuka, Bayley and Lacey as free agents. A few of them I would expect to return, Asuka being, I think, the most prominent one, the most likely one, though I am keeping an eye on Alexa Bliss, Bayley and the like. Lacey Evans, I think, may take a little while longer, but I think that's okay. Walter says Becky Lynch is at home. Yes, she is. I cannot confirm one way or the other. Pardon me. And I will not confirm one way or the other whether it's COVID related or just precautionary. But I will say, if it's not precautionary, then they very much are in trouble for day one. JQ James says, what the fuck is this? Well, Toni Storm's been fired by the WWE, guys. It sucks. It's awful. It happened. The news came out broken first by Fightful. Thank you, Lewis, for subscribing. That'll pop up in just a moment. Broken first by Fightful. I'm trying to break down the news that I've been able to get since then. Pops up on my phone first. Thank you very much, Lewis, for the subscribe. We are trying to reach 800 subscribers by the new year. We are currently at 785, so we only need 15 more. If you don't want to subscribe, that's fine. The fact that you're here right now will mean that YouTube will recommend these videos to you more in future. Please remember to hit that like as well. The user says, who do you think is next to get fired? I'm not going to play that card. I'm not going to answer that question per se. I don't feel it's particularly worthwhile a conversation to have. I don't want anyone else to get fired. A lot of people have lost their jobs in a very small space of time. Consider, for example, Toni Storm just got fired days after Christmas or days before Christmas. The news was broken days after Christmas, but she was wrestling for the company last week. They recorded the Christmas Eve show the week before. So as recently as the 18th, I want to say, 17th, 18th, I'm just going to actually double check this because, yes, as recently as the 17th, she was wrestling Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. 12 days later, news breaks, yep, she's gone. She's gone. Christoph says, I can't believe how WWE has been self-destructing this year. This to me seems very little focused on long-term success with such a small roster and so many promising talent gone to better places. WWE is no longer considered the be-all, end-all when it comes to wrestling. A lot of people would much rather go to AEW, New Japan, Impact. A lot of people right now would very much rather just go to Impact. That's a genuine thing. Impact was in a very bad way recently as when Matt Hardy left. They were struggling to bring people in. Nowadays, that's not really an issue anymore. They can attract top name talent because that top name talent do not want to be around the WWE. Because of this. Because they keep doing this. Walter says they're changing the matches at day one. They are waiting to see if they can get all clear on key wrestlers. They believe they will. They will hype the matches until literally the moment at which it is guaranteed that they will not happen. Much like they did with Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair at SummerSlam. J-Dub, welcome mate. Says, does Nick Khan know wrestling? What's his wrestling background? Fandom. He has not worked in wrestling until now, but he's a fan of wrestling historically. The Rock sort of revealed that one previously, though I have been updating this YouTube channel on Nick Khan over the last few months. In fact, I think I was quite considerably ahead of the curve when it comes to Nick Khan and that particular information. So let me just try and find out when my earliest video about Nick Khan was. I'm just going to double check now because, as I say, I've been keeping quite up to date on this one and trying to keep as much information as possible. So I'm just going to search Nick Khan, Tom Colohue into YouTube. That should be the easiest find I've ever had. 6 months ago, Nick Khan making major changes backstage in WWE. That was 6 months ago. 3 months ago, Vince McMahon fighting losing battles against Nick Khan and his own hires. So yes, there is a lot going on when it comes to Nick Khan. Sean says there are hardly any women on SmackDown. This is very true. JQ says women's division has zero hope at this point. They have very, very talented women in the divisions. The issue is that they're not using them right. And when they, even though they're great wrestlers, they need to actually give them storylines that actually matter. Because so far, the storyline that Toni Storm got stuck with is horrible. It's based on throwing pie at people. What chance did she actually have here? Megan says, Toni wrestled on house chairs last night. Thank you, Megan. And the night before, triple threat title match with Charlotte and Sasha. Which means that today is the day she went. Literally today. She was there as a buffer between Sasha and Charlotte. It also means it's very possible that the plan has changed and that we're not going to get Sasha versus Charlotte at WrestleMania, but Sasha versus Charlotte at the Royal Rumble. It's very possible that that has changed. Thank you for doing the digging on that one, Megan. I very much appreciate it. John says, hi, Tom. Hope your holiday was great. So far, so good. It is still going. Just to be clear, I'm not completely back as of yet. BFG says, sorry, that should have said you're all great journalists. Do you know if Jake Atlas has officially signed with AEW based off his surprise appearance yesterday at the taping in Jacksonville? Typically, when it comes to AEW, what they will do is they will bring people in for appearances, then start discussing contract negotiations. To my knowledge, Jake Atlas has not signed with AEW. He's definitely not officially signed with AEW because neither Jake Atlas or AEW has said Jake Atlas has signed with AEW. Until that happens, nothing is official. So yes, he is definitely not officially signed, but to my knowledge, he is not signed at all. Ghost says, Dakota Kai and Mia Yim just posted pics with Toni. The last two releases, Jeff and Toni, are just really sad. Yeah. I get the feeling, I very much get the feeling that they are, they're getting rid of people. They are just at this point getting rid of people. It's not a good thing, but that's where we are. Austin says, so far nothing with Shayna. That's a good sign. They do have a plan for Shayna Baszler. They put the plan together. And it's not been going badly. It's not been going great, but it's not been going badly. Hello, KJ. This is actually, thank you for saying that because that's going to give me a chance to recap. So let's recap. Let's talk about what we've been talking about. Toni Storm has been fired by the WWE. I'm yet to see anything conclusive about an idea that she has requested her release. I've seen people on Twitter say that, but I've not seen that come from anybody else. I've not seen any actual news or any journalists saying that she requested her release, just fans so far, though I'm not actively searching right now. The last piece of news I had on this, let me read it out, was saying that Toni Storm has very much received all of the blame from the WWE for her storyline with Charlotte Flair failing to catch fire. Now, what I mean by this is very much a situation whereby the storyline with Charlotte Flair did not go the way that the WWE wanted it to. And when it comes to Toni Storm, the reason she was fired is that they had hopes for it and were hoping that she would have a good showing. Charlotte Flair asked to work with her, or wanted to work with her, I should say. I just want to be clear on that one because I don't know if she asked, but she did want to work with her. And it did not pan out. Now, not wearing any rose-coloured glasses, Toni Storm was not perfect. She did flub some lines. She did botch a few moves. Most notably, for example, the double moonsault. Most notably that. But this is a situation whereby Toni Storm has lost her job in a very, very difficult time. I really do wish her all the best and hope to see her wrestling again very soon. But there are a lot of people who've been released by the WWE who have no interest whatsoever in returning to wrestling. And I don't mean, oh, maybe they'll be back soon. I mean they have absolutely no interest whatsoever in returning to wrestling. Hopefully, this is not the case with Toni Storm. MRJ says WWE just gifted AEW a generational talent. I'm guessing you're meaning Jeff Hardy there, because I would say so with that. But when it comes to just gifted AEW, I'm confident, and I can say right here, Jeff Hardy's going to AEW. I've said it for fucking years. He's just been waiting for the right time to go back to being with his brother. As soon as Matt joined AEW, I knew Jeff was going to follow. That was going to happen. Toni Storm, not sure where she'll land. I don't feel now is the right time to be jumping on that. But I do believe she'll be taking some indie bookings sooner rather than later. Sean says, are any matches on day one being changed? The WWE are waiting to see if there are any, if everyone they want gets the all clear from COVID before we get back to work, as it were. Omicron does not have the same gestation period that regular COVID-19 does. So it is very possible that they will get negative tests back, or at least 2 negative tests as they prefer, before people get back in the ring. Roman Reigns, however, will continue to have a protected status backstage. Moxie says, I hope you had a great holiday. So far so good, Moxie. I'm still on holiday right now. This is very an impromptu stream. I'm not back, as it were. Adam says, I hope she comes back soon. I wouldn't say comes back. I don't think many people who've been fired by the WWE have any intention of returning to the WWE, but I'm sure we'll see her soon. Michael says they really don't need to be doing all these live events this week. They wonder why there are COVID outbreaks. Well, there aren't going to be COVID outbreaks going forwards because they're not going to test. People who have it are just going to give it to each other. BFG says the reason why the previous question is because they filmed him shaking hands with Toni. I'm going to quickly read back on what that previous question was. Oh, I see. They did. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing official about signing. I do believe that's one of those things. They will continue to discuss and try and work out contracts as we go until we have something conclusive. Hello, Billy. How are you? Madaranga says, can you provide updates about Asuka and Alexa Bliss? Both are expected to be back for or in and around the Royal Rumble. Alexa Bliss will not be going back to her previous character. She will not be her current character either. She will be something new, slightly different, but involving both of her previous incarnations. Adam says, is Jeff Hardy signing of All Elite Wrestling? There is nothing official yet. I'd expect it to happen. Rob says, just getting home and seeing this. Well, welcome, Robs. I'm sorry for giving you so much bad news immediately. Immediately walking into just a horrible situation. Thank you for saying that, Robs. Hope the same for you. My Christmas has been very, very good. I'll update you all once I'm having one of my normal shows where I can slow down a little bit as well. Austin says, I hope Shayna's push gets better, honestly. Same. Just while I have you and while I'm slowly catching up on everyone's comments, if this is your first time on the Tom Colohue channels, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. I've just seen a subscription from MRJ. That way, thank you very much for that subscription as it comes up just here. Thank you kindly. We do break exclusive news here that isn't available anywhere else. If this is your first time here, go back through the back catalogue because there is some huge news. Biggest news that we've broken this year is probably the news that Becky Lynch would return at SummerSlam before Becky Lynch returned at SummerSlam. So in the days ahead, I believe it was literally the day before we said it, and then keeping up to date as goes there. So it is worth doing. Also, please remember that little thumbs up. It can make a massive difference, can draw more people in, can draw more eyes to what I'm creating here, and can help us grow. So thank you everyone who has hit like so far, and everyone who will hit like from me saying it. Moxie says, Tom, I think we might get Drew versus Roman at the Royal Rumble because of what happened at the house show. We'll see on that one, but that just means that they're getting it out of the way quick. I still believe Drew McIntyre is the next Universal Champion. Austin says, Tony is so young too. Yeah, it's... They brought someone in who hasn't even had much time to develop to what they're looking for, and then got annoyed because she didn't meet their standards. What the hell are we supposed to do with that? Adam says, do you see Bray Wyatt returning to the WWE soon? I don't see Bray Wyatt returning to the WWE ever, personally. Rob says, Britt Baker already tweeting out a Tony pick. She won't be the only one. There are a lot of people actively planning to do that. Moxley says, did you hear that Seth has COVID and Big E and Bobby have to isolate, so how will the match happen? Well, I did not hear that Seth had COVID. I remember that he said, happy COVID Christmas. That is not official, as it were. Thank you very much, Michael, for the renewed subscription over on Twitch. That is your 10th month. And I am very, very grateful for your consistent support on both channels. You've been absolute inspiration. Thank you, sir. I cannot confirm the names of anyone who has or does not have COVID. The WWE are waiting for an all clear, hoping that they will get it for anyone who does have COVID before we get to day one. They are hopeful, and it is likely at this point. Austin says possibly Toni goes to Impact or Japan because that's where her fiance is. Possibly, yes. We'll wait and see, but the wrestlers don't always make decisions based on their partners, just to be clear on that one. Dylan Richmond, welcome to the show, says something must have happened. There's no way it was this sudden for no reason. There was a reason. This has been building for a few days, a few weeks. The WWE simply do not believe that Toni Storm was displaying enough to warrant keeping. And they didn't have any plans for her after the loss to Charlotte, so she would have been essentially sat in catering. Nick Khan does not like that. Anyone who is not being actively used will be fired from the company. So that's exactly what has happened. KJ says, I woke up to this release, same with Jeff. Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Sucks. Adam says, so she will most likely sign of All Elite Wrestling. I have no idea where you've got that from, Adam. At no point have I said anything close to that. I don't know where she will sign, if she decides to sign, because at the moment, to be completely honest, a lot of people fired by the WWE have no intention of wrestling again. No intention whatsoever of wrestling again. Rob says this update is incognito. Well, it is. It's an out of nowhere. Breaking news, but out of nowhere. Go says, I'm not sure if everyone saw, but the show that was going to happen today in Toronto has been postponed until March. At this rate, Thunderdome Round 2 is more likely than not. I disagree on that. The WWE have a plan, and it is to ignore COVID. That's the plan. They are just from here going to ignore the whole thing. Everyone who might have it will get it. COVID will rip through the WWE because nobody will know if anyone actually has it. That's the plan. Moxie says, Tom, I think the WWE are going to give the belt to Brock at WrestleMania. What do you think? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Brock Lesnar is going to win the belt from Roman. But that's just me. Adam says, are we still getting more new information for 2K22 next month? Yes, we are. The WWE and 2K have been very clear and very open about the fact that we will hear more in January. And there is no change right now with any of the plan to make that happen. Hey, Bossman says, thank you for making it to YouTube. I really appreciate that. We are dual streaming on both Twitch and YouTube right now, just so everyone's aware. If you can only watch one, I would appreciate if it was YouTube. The watch time there is simply more valuable than watch time on Twitch. Thank you. Christoph says, different topic. Quick thanks for recommending the G1 2020 to me a few weeks ago. It's a great show, isn't it? Great start to get into New Japan. Can you tell how they're holding up despite injuries and lack of foreigners due to COVID? New Japan is still delivering. They are holding up just fine. They have a moderately deep roster, even though it doesn't seem like a deep roster. And they will happily have people wrestle multiple times in a show because ultimately they wrestle a lot more rarely than they do in WWE, and that's how they can use strong style. They also have a strong back catalogue of older wrestlers who can still go that they've been sort of cycling out. New Japan has basically everything they need. Hello, Lara. How are you? Adam says, does Jeff Hardy have to go to rehab before he signs? Before he signs what? There's nothing for him to sign. And why would he need to go to rehab? I'm going to need a full question there, Adam, because you're missing a lot of details in it. I don't know what you're asking. If you can rephrase. BFG says, any surprise expected for the Dynamite special tonight? Today, wherever you are in the world. Not at the moment. AEW tend to telegraph their surprise. Tend to telegraph it. Fair enough, Bossman. I get you. Bossman says you've had a good year, Tom. I have, Bossman. Thank you. That is very true. I've had a very, very good year. And I'm very grateful to people like yourself who come into the channels, or YouTube now, but Twitch semi-regularly, as it were. Even if you just drop in for like one show every 6 months, you're making a difference to me, and I really do appreciate that. My success this year has been entirely based on people giving me the chance. So, thank you. Austin says, I heard Brock might be doing live shows when he returns. Heard Brock might be doing live shows. I don't believe so. Not sure where you've heard that. Can you state a source for it, Austin? Adam says, when he returns, I guess you're meaning Jeff Hardy, but returns where? He's not coming back to WWE. They fired him. Christoph says, do you know if any of their bigger foreign stars see New Japan as a permanent home, or is it more a stop on their way to AEW or WWE in the long term for most of them? Most of the big name stars of New Japan are very, very happy in New Japan. I, for example, have spoken about Jay White in the past, and the fact that the WWE have been very, very interested in bringing Jay White to the WWE. You know who's not interested? Jay White. Don't wanna. KJ says, Seth didn't say he had COVID, he said Merry COVID Christmas. That's true. I know everyone reported, oh, he's got COVID. We actually can't guarantee that. We actually can't guarantee it. After all, Edge said, I'm not coming back to the Rumble. Then he came back to the Rumble. Rob says, I believe they were just being extra careful, making sure to protect the talent in the mains of day one. We won't be able to say for certain, but it's certainly not impossible. Moxie says, Tom, I will never forget the time at SummerSlam when I said after Becky returned, I predicted Brock will return. Also never forget when Becky returned, Michael Cole was like one of the biggest stars just because CM Punk went to AEW. Well, she's a big star. And she did come back way ahead of expected time. Boss Pedal says if she does decide to wrestle, she has lots of options. Rossi from Stardom clearly liked her enough for her to win the 5-star Grand Prix tournament and their top title, the World of Stardom title. Welcome, Boss Pedal, first and foremost. And secondly, yeah, Toni Storm's history in Stardom is very, very well storied. She won a lot of championships. She was very highly regarded, and I do believe we will see her at least spend some time back there. Michael says Andrew Zarian tweeted he has heard Toni asked for a release, so that may be where that's been coming from then. I'll have to read that at some point. I'll wait for it, but I don't think it'll be too long to come out. As I say, I'm hosting right now, so I'm not particularly worried on this one. Moxie, thank you. Says if you want to help Tom, go to his YouTube and like, subscribe, and hit that little bell and comment. That will help Tom out a lot. And it really does. I've spoken about this at some length before, but I'll just reiterate quickly. When you're hosting a live stream on YouTube, you get several stats. And there's viewer stats, there's average watch time stats. These are all important. There's also a chat rate stat. So essentially, the easiest ways to guarantee more viewers, likes, active viewers, and watch time. So the higher the average watch time basically means the longer people stay in a video. That's a great thing. When it comes to the chat rate, that's more people chatting at the same time. That also means more promotion for the video and, of course, likes. So they're all a really big help. Hello, Cleric. How are you doing? Thank you very much for joining us. Chucky says, I actually wanted Toni Storm as champion. I never saw it happening. But we'll see how it goes. KJ says, any news on why Billy Graham said he signed 5 years with WWE? Did he? I don't believe anyone is signing for 5 years with WWE right now, and I'll just leave that there. Adam is asking, do you see Paige returning at the Royal Rumble? No. Larry says, hello, have I missed it all? Most of it, Larry, to be fair. We are starting to run out of questions and starting to wrap up. But I will take this opportunity to reiterate everything I can at this point confirm. Toni Storm has been released by the WWE. There are certainly reports now coming out that she has asked for her release and been granted it. What I will say, and what I've been able to add to this particular conversation, is that Toni Storm has received all of the blame from the WWE for her storyline with Charlotte Flair failing to catch fire. This has been building for a while. The WWE have been considering doing this, but there are quite a number of other women in the locker room who've been singing her praises and trying to sort of put the arm around the shoulder and say, hey, come on, you can do this. Sasha Banks is one of them. Charlotte Flair wanted to work with Toni Storm. It's just that the storyline has been bad. The storyline has been bad. And it has let this one down. Squared Circle Welcome says SRS tweeted that is the case about Toni asking for the release. Right, that's 2 reports. So that's certainly news. She may just have been unhappy at the WWE. That's certainly possible. There are a lot of people backstage in the WWE at the moment who are not happy with the WWE. Really not happy, and I can't blame them. Thank you, Omega, for renewing your subscription over on Twitch. That is your 5th month, and you've been extremely generous in that time. Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for the support and for being here with me today. Moxie says, Tom, I'm starting to believe that Liv might win the belt. I am not. KJ says, people are debating who's better between Punk and Orton. It's Orton all the way. I'm not sure on that one. When it comes to better, it's debatable. It depends what you mean by better, as it were. We'll have to wait and see. Moxie says, Tom, can you quickly do a day one prediction? I can. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be having ourselves a live taping of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure right here on this here YouTube channel and on Twitch as well. So once again, dual streaming that you can check out with myself and with Nick Barbatti. Adam says, I see more legends returning at the Royal Rumble. They're going to have to, because there ain't no women. So going to have to be a lot of legends turning up. Ooh. Christoph says, good to hear what you said about Jay White. He's one of my favourites, and generally speaking, clearly most fans like their favourite promotions to keep their top talent. Bringing back tonight's topic. Fair enough. They do. When it comes to top talent, imagine, for example, Roman Reigns says he don't really want to stay at WWE. People would be upset. Particularly WWE fans. But I imagine a lot of competitor fans would be very excited. Jay White is one of the big reasons I'm a New Japan fan. And I think soon Toni Storm will be one of the big reasons someone is a Somewhere Else fan. Maybe a Stardom fan. MRJ says, does Toni have a no-compete clause? Yes, she does. It should be 90 days. So set your clocks. 90 days from now, expect to see Toni Storm wrestling again. Thank you very much, Wiggly, for renewing your subscription. That's your 7th month. Welcome to the show, mate. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a great Christmas. And thank you very much for your generosity. Yeah, Toni will have a 90-day. She did sign a new contract when she first came up from the main roster. But she was called up because they just needed someone different. They just needed to add a body, really. And yeah, planning, not really their forte at this point. Oh, Mega shouts, Nixon Newell. Nixon Newell. Larry says, I prefer Orton, looks a real dangerous bastard, as real edge to a match. CM Punk I found a bit dull, but that's just me. You're entitled to your opinion, absolutely. KJ says, I think WWE is going to let anyone go for any reason, or if they ask for it, unless they are a big name. Debate on that. As I say, there weren't really any plans for Toni Storm going forwards. They were going to have the match with Charlotte and Toni on day one, but they brought it forwards because they just didn't believe it was going anywhere. They didn't believe the storyline deserved the platform. Maybe one of the reasons that Toni Storm may have asked for her release. Moxie says, yes, I always love Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. It's so fun. Thank you, Moxie. We will be hosting that tomorrow. Adam says, is Goldberg going against Big E at WrestleMania for the WWE? I don't know. Haven't heard anything about that. Wiggly says, I hope Asuka will come back at the Royal Rumble. She is supposedly planned to return at the Rumble, along with many others as well. Gary Welcome says, can you confirm any legends appearing, or are they only confirmed allegedly? Nice. That's good and terrible. That's good and terrible. There will be legends at the Royal Rumble. I just can't confirm who they're going to be. Bossman says, will Veer ever come, or will he just have the biggest case of wrestling blue balls in the modern era? Now, I've got to be honest with you. If they have that vignette running for an entire year, and then he gets released without ever appearing, that would be the most WWE thing to ever be done by the WWE. I don't know. They have no plan. I don't understand it. Rob says, Tony's 90 days times up perfectly for a well planned out April Fool's surprise somewhere. It does, that's true. Hope the WWE don't do that, because they will get shit on. KJ says, they called her Shotzi, Tegan and brought back Zelina all immediately after Bayley got hurt. I feel they panicked and called 3 women up from NXT. They did. That is exactly the situation. Exactly the situation. Adam says, Ringside News reported Big E wants a match with Goldberg. They did not report that. Big E has openly stated on multiple occasions that he wants a match with Goldberg. It's not a news report because it's public knowledge anyway. It's all public knowledge. Everyone already knows this. They're not reporting a damn thing. Get the Table says, send Veer. One day, maybe Veer will finally arrive. And when he does, he will immediately lose to someone else. Oh, maybe Jinder. Remember how Karrion Kross got the call up and we all had hopes? Do you remember hope? Do you remember those days when we actually hoped for things? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's weird. No worries, Adam. Don't worry about it. I just felt that was a good opportunity to say that. KJ says, Goldberg said he has one more match left, needs shoulder surgery when he's done. Could his last match be at a Saudi show or Mania? Yes. And Omega says, send Veer, which is becoming a thing. We've been on for just under 57 minutes. I'm going to say, if you've been watching this and you would like to know more, please do remember to hit subscribe or like on the YouTube video, preferably both, and hit the notification bell. If you're watching on Twitch, please do remember that you can hit follow as well and get regular notifications every time we go live here. This is a Tom Colohue channel. We share news here, and we've broken some quite big news. The regulars here will attest as well. If you're a regular here, you know that we break quite big news here, and we've been covering that over the last few months. Well, to be fair, the last year, let's be honest. KJ says, do you see how they're using main roster guys in NXT? I think it's great. I think it's needed. NXT is dying on its arse. Moxie says, I think Goldberg's last match is Roman Reigns. That also kind of makes sense. I don't necessarily think Mania, but they do want to do Spear versus Spear again. Adam says, I want to see a match between Trish Stratus and Sasha Banks. So do Trish Stratus and Sasha Banks. And Omega says, what do you think of Hook? Everyone seems to love him. I think it would be rude of me not to. I'm going to wrap it up there. To reiterate, Toni Storm has been released by the WWE. There are reports out there that she requested her release, but all I can confirm definitively is that she received the bulk of the blame for the failure of the storyline with Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair wanted to work with Toni Storm. There was a bit of a competition between Charlotte and Becky to see who could get over their opponent the most. Becky has clearly won that one. And a lot of other people also stuck up for Toni Storm, but there were a number of flubs, a number of lines going wrong, a number of botches, and ultimately the time came. Larry says, I'm hoping we get a 3-week lockdown, could do with more time off. Sod the economy, I want to sleep in. For 3 weeks? I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Rob said, maybe Veer is just stuck in Saudi and is actually waiting for them to come to him. That would also be funny. And Moxie said, Tom, here's a trivia. When was the last time Roman Reigns won a match with a Superman punch? I don't believe he ever has. Thank you, KJ. I appreciate that. I very much do. Right. I've been Tom Colohue. I'm going to wrap it up there. Please do remember to hit subscribe, hit follow. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you tomorrow for our Day 1 preview show and a live taping of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure. Have a great night, guys.